Hi. When it comes to relationships, a lot of people are looking up the twin flames or soulmates, and we wonder, is it real? Is it the thing? Is it something I have? And how can I find it? And how do I manifest it? Well, I know there's a lot to talk about when it comes to these topics, but I'm just gonna talk about one little thing, and maybe in the future I'll make more videos. But when we wonder about twin flames, soulmates, and all this stuff, is it real? It is. But I want to make this little note, or just sort of it's I think it's important note. People think that when it comes to twin flames or soulmates, there's only one person. There's only one special person and no one else. And that's not necessarily true because as consciousness, we are living for quadrillions of years. We live freaking long. And the thing about it is with each life, we're gonna have different relationships. It's not gonna be one person all the time. Each life will bring us new people, new relationships, and new experiences. And once we're done, we might meet some of the beings in their lives. You might have some of your best friends and family with you to other places, but then you're like, oh, I'm going to switch it up. And so, with the vast experiences we have and the massive variety, there's not going to be only one person we have such a strong connection with. There's going to be many. And so, when we end up here on Earth, we are looking for someone who has the same deep connection with us. We're looking for someone special, for someone who's basically unlike anyone else. Someone you can connect with, who is gonna have complete understanding of each other, and so much more. And we're looking for that one and only. And we end up reading articles of signs of twin flames. Am I do I have a soulmate, and how do I find one? All this stuff, and we end up thinking that there's only one. And so this is limiting because as beings we have tons of relationships, and with every single life, man, you actually might have 20 people here on earth who are actually super close to you. So basically calling someone a twin flame or soulmate is just putting a label. Some say oh, I'm a starseed, I'm an indigo kid, and all this stuff. Labels everywhere so that we would get a better idea of something, but it's not necessarily representing the reality. And the reality is some beings we have super strong connection with, and at the same time it's not always just lovers. You can you can have someone that you love and all this stuff, but it's not just lovers. You might be teacher student, you might be parent and a kid, or a kid and a parent, and just have tons of mixes of things that can happen throughout your lives. And at the same time, it's not always going to be good. It's not always going to be bright and like you see in movies, oh, this is just perfection, this is my dream. And that's not a thing. Someone you love, someone you have such a super strong connection with, will also be the person who will hurt you, will also be the person who might kill you, might cheat on you, might end up exploring and all this stuff. So we have a great connection with some people, but we also have histories of little incidents. And when we end up coming here, you might meet people who have similar histories with you, as in a dark past. A dark meaning you might have been suppressed by people around you, you might have been suffering quite a bit, you felt like an alien, you just sort of can't find anyone to connect with, can't find anyone who's like you, who tolerates you and all this stuff, and you're like, I'm all alone here, nobody gets me, I'm sort of isolated and all this stuff. But the thing is, it happens to everyone. In the past videos I've made, when I cover the topics of relationships, some people are like, are you talking about me, is this my session and all this stuff? And I'm like, no. There's just tons of people with these experiences, and I feel like I have an easier time talking about this, or I'm not as triggered, because some people, you might be in love, you might be crazy in love with someone, but at the same time, as wonderful as it sounds, it's torturous, because the person you love most is someone you can't have. The person you are so crazy about is with someone else, or they don't know about you, or they reject you. There are tons of things that happen in these relationships, and while it might seem all bright and fun and all the stuff, it also can hurt you. So when that happens, it's important to keep on know that it's not just one person that you're supposed to be with, and this is it, and there's no one else. No, as beings, there's plenty of relationships, and while you see someone that you're like, this is it, this is the one, there will be plenty of others. You just haven't met them yet, you just haven't connected with them yet. And so sometimes what feels like, maybe you wasted your time, maybe you were too late, maybe you acted too fast, or something happened and that person just can't be with you. It's okay. It's hard, it's not pleasant, but it doesn't mean you've missed it all and you were fucked. That's not the way it is. And so One of the things I also like sort of want to mention, and again, like there's tons of things to cover about this topic. Like I probably shouldn't make one longest video, but like with these relationships, they will have tons of triggers. And the thing is, like throughout our life and the whole multiverse, we have experienced a lot. There are good times, there are bad times. There are times when we're having fun, where we're living in peace and it's the best thing ever. But eventually, some of us get bored of the same old experience and we intend to have something new. And the new stuff might bring us some pain, might bring us some, like new experiences that will actually hurt you. When it happens, every single life is basically like an onion, and you're peeling each layer. In one layer you might be happy, but then there's the being abandoned, being betrayed, being cheated on, and all the other things. And we come here, but we already have a baggage of traumas and things that will like inner wounds, and they can be triggered easily. And now when you connect with someone here on earth, it's harder because they have their own baggage, you have your own baggage. And while in the multiverse, it is easy to let go of our past and simply, like, if you want to change, stop fixing things. Start changing right now and be different. Like, let go of the old stuff. And some people are like, oh, cliche, shut the fuck up. I'm tired of this. And that's okay. But the thing is, the most important stuff that actually works is the most simple stuff. It's just we have to digest it and use it. But anyway, with all that, over here on Earth, we're trying to fix ourselves, and it's not working that well. Like we're fucked, So when you meet someone, you have a great connection. Like you might end up, you see that person, you might end up crying because like this is the one, and you have feelings that like you've never felt before. You see the person, and you just know deep inside, this is the one. Like I'm not letting go. This is I've something that hasn't happened before. So like there are like various unique experiences we have when we meet the people, but at the same time, when you connect or when you're trying to connect, there will be hardships. There will be hardships because you met billions of different people. You had billions of different relationships. So not just like, let's say, lovers and all, but like parents and kids and students and friends and coworkers and all this stuff. Like there's just massive variety. With all that, as you meet the person, you will also have harder time talking to each other, harder time communicating, because you two have different understanding. And while you might connect on tons of things, there will be things you're different with. And the things that has happened in your past, maybe you've been betrayed, maybe you've been abandoned, maybe you've been so crushed by life that you sort of lost the emotions. You're just like not feeling anything. There are tons of things that will happen. But let's say more women will have this thing like with being abandoned, with being betrayed, with being cheated on, that they will cling on the guy they love or like or admire. Whilst the guys are sort of like tired of same old stuff and they're looking for variety. And they feel like, hey, I'm just being friendly. I'm sort of just like, I have a thing. And so these things will end up being our triggers. While you yourself might not do it consciously, there are third parties that can implant the thoughts, feelings, emotions, urge to do something, urge to act in one way or another. And so while you wake up from a dream like all shaken up, like, whoa, I don't want that to happen, and you sort of like live in fear for one day or another, and you sort of like have this like worst concerns, like what if, what if, what if? But a lot of these thoughts are implanted, a lot of these thoughts are there to trigger you. But at the same time, they're triggering not just you, but people around you. And while one person might have this massive, I need to be with this person, I feel with this, like I have feelings for them, I love them, I feel like I'm being betrayed. Like there's gonna be a variety. That person will have the opposite button turn on, and while you're trying to and getting the person, they're gonna reject you, they're gonna ignore you, they're not gonna pay attention to you. And at the same time, if you're sort of having issues with being cheated on, being abandoned, being betrayed, and all this stuff, that person will have a trigger. Well, hey, I'm just going to talk to the person. And they might not necessarily think, like, I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. No, no, no. It's just like Murphy's Law. It's just all of a sudden, because this is more of a simulation, there are tons of things that will happen. While you have a trigger, that person will actually act on what will trigger you even more. And so we get played with our emotions with all of these events. And for example, you might be in love with a guy, and like you're like, okay, like this is it, I'm gonna go talk to him. And you go and like you finally mustered up your courage, and you're gonna like tell him all about like how you feel and all this stuff. And you walk into the room, and he's talking to another girl, and he's actually very friendly, and end up kissing her and all this stuff, and you're like crushed and dying inside because like, hey, you finally came to this moment, and damn, and it can be completely opposite, where you're more like, hey, finally, after all these like months of waiting and working on myself, I'm gonna talk to this girl, and she has another guy, and you've missed your chance, and it fucks you up. So there's like a lot of these things that happen. And again, like if you do have relationships, or like you end up talking to people, and more like dealing with it all, it's important to realize that these relationships with people that we have strong connection with, not just the twin flames and soulmates and all this stuff, because these are just labels. We have tons of lifetimes with different people. And while you meet someone and you have a great connection, and you two might have had millions of lifetimes together, there will be plenty of others who also have great, strong connection with you, which is why we as people, or like as a consciousness, it's not the monogamy thing, if I'm saying it right. It's not just like one person forever until whatever, it's not just like you choose one and you're stuck with it all the time. People can make decisions like that, it's okay. But a lot of us will be like, okay, we spent 55 billion lifetimes together, can I please leave and just find someone else, like just for something new to do? And just like in this life, we might have tons of people we know that we're friendly with, that we're in contact with and all this stuff. It is exactly the thing. Like, we can't just be with one person all the time. We're looking for others. So I'm like, while I'm like, hey, I like the monogamy here on Earth, others are like, hey, I don't want to do this. I want to be with everyone and sort of just chill and just have all these experiences, which is okay. It's not like right or wrong or anything. The duality is all bullshit. Because in the multiverse, people might have mutual agreements and they will be together with each other, but at the same time, they can be like, okay, I'm done, bye now. And they will be great in a relationship, but they can leave and have more experiences, and they can come together and have same kind of connection like before. And there's not like judgment, all this stuff. There are times where we're abandoned, where we're left and all this stuff, and it traumatizes us. And it's going to be like in a wound that will be triggered in this life if certain stuff happens. But it's a very common thing. It's very common. So like even right now in this life, when you see people that you have close connection to, it doesn't have to be soulmates or anyone. Simply, if you have connection with people, I think it's important to remember that we're being triggered. And I mentioned this before, but like the point is, because we're connected with some people, and because we have lived for tons of lifetimes together, some of these relationships and experiences will be really good for us. Will be good because when two beings get together and they've had certain past experiences together, they will trigger some of the things that will allow each other to grow, allow each other to be their best selves, allow each other to sort of like win in life or learn certain experiences, maybe recall their past lives, recall their abilities, and tons of other things. There are like tons of things that happen spiritually when you meet someone you have had relationships with in past, one way or another. It's not just lovers, it's like literally friends, family, and all the other things. We have massive variety, and it's okay. And with that, a lot of these things will be targeted, because if you're doing good, if you're confident, if you're growing, if you're getting what you want, you are freaking dangerous. And a lot of people end up being walking targets. While you might have either great relationships, or maybe you're having a hard time with it, or you're feeling all alone, remember that most of humanity, sadly, is a walking target. If everyone here ends up being all positive and doing great and confident and funny and all this stuff, you don't have to be perfect. No one is. But you feel good. And that is freaking powerful, because so easily you can manifest absolutely everything. You can get what you want. You can make your dreams come true. And each and every one of us, we are freaking powerful. You are powerful in every single way. And the thing is, the better you feel about yourself, the more confident you are, the more like, hey, I can do this. I can do this. Even if it seems impossible, I can do this. And you make it possible. Each and every one of you can do that. But because of it, because your beliefs, your thoughts, your visuals are creating the reality, there will be third parties that don't like that. And because they're freaking weak, they try to make us think that they're powerful. And the way they try to make us think that they're powerful is by messing with us, messing with our emotions, messing with our feeling states, with what happens in life. There will be tons of triggers every single day. It's possible. And the way they try to trigger you is, you might have a conversation with anyone around you, whether it is your parents, whether it's your siblings, people you love, people you care for, coworkers, and all this stuff. There will be some phrases flying around. People will say stuff, and it will trigger you. It'll make you feel bad, wrong, and guilty. It'll make you feel like, hey, I'm a loser, I'm powerless, I can't do anything. And that happens. And it's not okay, but like we have to be aware of these things. We have to be aware. And awareness doesn't stop everything, but it's a start. So the usual state, let's say when the physical body is dead, or like let's say when people drop dead and they're out there, or when you're an out of body experience in the astral, there are no negative emotions. It is not the usual natural feeling state. Natural feeling state is like, and you're at ease. You're in the comfortable place. You are in a place of confidence because you are simply the knowledge, you are information, and you can do absolutely everything. But that is what is dangerous. And so they want you to constantly live in fear, constantly live in chaos, constantly live in worry and anxiety, which is why we get bombarded with all the negativity. We turn on the news, we listen to the radio, we look at other things, and they're just like, uh, because be afraid, be scared, da 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 da, tons of things that are like not going good with the world or any other things, and you're just sort of like bombarded with negativity and end up buying into it, and then you're like, the world is going nuts, and we just can't make it, and blah blah blah, and you're sort of like now drowning with this whole negativity. And at the same time, while you might just be focusing on the surroundings, you will focus on yourself as well eventually, and it'll not it'll not be something good. It'll be like, man, I just wish blah 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 blah, and it's gonna be something bad. So how do you say it? When it comes to people, it's really important to know just like, hey, this situation right now, I am being targeted. It's not me fucking it up. It's not the person fucking it up. It seems like it, but it's not. It's not your fault. It's not his or hers fault. It's the third party trying to affect people. And so we tend to blame others. We tend to blame like he's the wrong one, she's the wrong one, he did that, she did that. And so sometimes we're like, oh, I'm worthless, I'm a piece of shit or whatever. And we end up like blaming ourselves and bashing our heads and all this stuff. I've been through it. I've been through it where I hated myself. I had tons of complexes, and even if I fucked up, I was ended up beating myself up because it seemed like the right thing to do. I felt wrong, and the only thing that I could do right is be even wrong more. And so with all that, it's hard, but where I find that I can shake off all the negatives is, let's say I might have a triggering situation, like I'm talking to the person and all of a sudden they go nuts. For example, you might be sitting in your house doing something and your parents come back from work, or like your siblings, your lovers, whatever, they come back home and they go crazy because you didn't take out the trash. They go crazy because you didn't do something they wanted you to do. And we end up like reacting well, like we end up yelling back or protecting ourselves, and all of a sudden, like, it's okay to protect yourself, it's okay to defend, but eventually, a lot of times, these little situations, smallest things, it is always the smallest things that start it all. It's not gonna be like this massive thing happening in the family and you have this like huge fallout with someone. It's like usually smallest things like, hey, take off your fucking shoes, take out the fucking trash, do this, do that, da 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 da. And eventually, those smallest things will trigger each other and people end up fighting. In these situations, you're like, okay, the person's mad, the person's angry. And you're not kissing someone's ass, you're not sucking it up or anything. No, you're being in control because now there's a third party controlling people around you, implanting thoughts, amplify certain feelings. Like the person can get angry, like, damn it, I wanted you to do it, but it's okay. And they can get over it really fast. But there will be third parties that will amplify the emotions, and the person is simply unable to let go. A lot of times, because most people are living in the negative state, we end up being addicted or used to, or it becomes our habit to feel bad, negative, wrong, and all this stuff. People get addicted, and it becomes their habit. It becomes their thing to be angry, to be anxious, to be worried, to be in the pain. And it will say, well, it seems like like, no, you're completely bullshitting me. Actually, like it's not the thing, but this becomes our natural state. It's kind of like the habits are formed in 19 days. And in 90 days, if you keep repeating one thing over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. And so you might not do it consciously, but for 90 days, you get triggers all around you every single day, and you end up feeling bad, wrong, guilty. Maybe you're trapped. Maybe you start hating the world. Maybe you start hating people and all this stuff. And it becomes your natural state. It becomes something you're used to. People that are growing with, let's say, parents who are alcoholics every single day. Okay, here's 7 p.m. My dad gets back and my dad beats me. And so you move out 20 years later of this whole experience, You're doing great, you're with your buddies, you're playing games, or just eating pizza, or just having fun. 7 p.m. and you're like, I don't feel so good. I don't know. And everything's okay. There's nothing wrong going on. But your usual state, 7 p.m., trouble time, I'm going to get beat, I'm going to be wrong. And your body recalls what it is. And so the more we live with these negative states, with worries, concerns, with anxiety, with rage, with going berserk and all this stuff, there can be tons of things we feel. And it's okay to feel what you feel. It's totally okay. But at the same time, the more it happens, the more it becomes natural state. And it's not something we're liking or we're doing consciously, but it just becomes a thing. And we end up sort of naturally even attracting that stuff. And it's not like we're doing like, again, like consciously, like, oh, I want to be fucked, so I'm gonna attract it. So it's not like that. It's completely the opposite. It's like where you're like really trying to turn it upside down, like, hey, I'm gonna make my life right. This time I'm gonna make it work. This time, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like focusing on the best possible outcome. But because because you have lived under the attack of so long, and that eventually, even when you're trying to do the best thing, it will be the thing that will trigger the station and will cause more problems. So there are like tons of things that can happen. And I think like in these situations, like one of the things sometimes I am using is, let's say, Tony Robbins' 6 basic human needs. And so when people come at me and they seem triggered, they seem like like they're gonna lunge off to me and start yelling, or maybe they're not satisfied about something. I always look like, okay, how can I help you? Like, I see you're yelling, I see you're not happy. So there might be some people in the comments section who will be like shut the fuck up, like, or prove this, prove that, and they're all like in their own state, and like, it's okay. I don't want to yell at you, I don't want to call you bitch or like idiot or anything else like that. I'm like, okay, you had your own experience, you have your own opinion, how can I help you? And so like coming with understanding or being empathic, it's not easy, it's not fun. Sometimes people say stuff that will be really mean and will hurt you, and all you want to do is protect yourself. Like, you stand up for yourself, it's really good to do, I'm glad you're doing this, but at the same time it will be the thing that will cause more problems. So like, it's important to like sort of like, okay, right now I'm going to put the hat of being a listener, and I'm going to be present, and I will help you out. I know you're pissed at me, I know you're hateful, how can I help you? And when people are like, let's say, coming and like, why the fuck you didn't take out the trash? And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to take it out right now, is there anything else I can do for you? And the person's like, they want to hate you, they want to like latch off, but you're like, no. And you take out the trash and you're like, honey, would you like some coffee? Is there anything I can do for you? Like, blah, blah, blah. And you're basically, they still want to be all the bitch, but like, no, it's all fine. And then you surprise them with another thing, and they're like, listen, I'm sorry I say that thing. It's like, actually, I don't know. So just something hit me. Yeah, I'm sorry. And like, literally, you see people change in minutes if you, for a moment, stop sort of like, I'm going to protect myself and attack you back because you're the wrong one. You're the wrong one. You're starting all of it. You're basically like, no, attack me all I want. And you're not getting like, it's not like bitch slap me one like and sort of like turn the other cheek, like fuck that shit. But sometimes it is good to understand what's going on, and that the other person is like maybe being controlled, maybe being attacked. And if you, at least for a moment, can be in control of yourself, and even like, it's kind of like bull baiting. They will like laugh at you, they will shout at you, they will say shit, and it will hurt. But if you can sort of like let it in, digest it, and let it out, but be there to listen, to care, and help, you literally can turn them around within seconds. And the person will talk it out, and you understand that the whole problem is not you taking out or like not taking out the trash or doing something or not doing something. Eventually all the problems have started much earlier. It's just the person finally felt safe to express it to you. And you've been there to listen. You've been there to sort of like, okay, is there anything I can do for you? And you're sort of willing to open up and be the listener, not judge, be tolerant. And eventually they turn around and you understand, like, they're like really sorry about like what he did, what he said. And eventually they want to kiss up to you. So like, these things happen, and it takes a few times only to be in control of yourself and how you react. But the most important stuff is not actually trying to kiss up to a person or something like that. It's really good if you can be in control of yourself and sort of handle these situations. But it's not about you or the other person. It's about stopping the attacks. Because when other parties that are trying like attacking the people and then trying to trigger their emotions, their feeling state, just to get people fighting because they don't like you feeling good for too long. They don't like you doing good. They don't like you being confident. They don't like you like winning in life. And so you might win, you might feel great one day, and next day it's like a massive slam. And so like one day you basically people are like, let's have sex and I love you and like all the good stuff. Next day they're like, you're fucking cheating on me, or like all the other things. So with all that, if you can sort of confront people, listen to them, and be there to help them, eventually they talk it out. But what happens is like people who are like beings that were attacking you see like, hey, our stuff is not working, fuck, and they try it again and again and again. But you handle the situation, and you handle it a few more times, and these beings like, damn, our stuff ain't working, let's go mess with someone else. And eventually things that used to happen and mess with you stops, because you were handling yourself, and you can control yourself, not other people. You can influence others, but not control them. And so you're like in control of how you feel. It might not be nice. It's not easy to do. It's not like, hey, yeah, attack me all you want, I'm all up for it. And you get like kicked and killed and all this stuff. Like, not that. But I've seen it work countless times for me. And to be able to sort of like turn it around and see like, damn, these people become like sort of like even more connected to you, they like you more, they feel like safer with you, and just like relationship sort of gets better. So there's a whole lot to this massive subject. But like if I could sort of like, let's say, I don't know, like few things to remember is that we don't have only just one person we're so close with. Twins, like twin flames and soulmates and all the other things, we have plenty, tons of people and beings that we have a really strong connection with, and we have lived countless of lives. So if you feel like this person you want is not like is not happening, you can make it happen. It's all possible, but it's not the only option you have. There will be plenty of others. Also, something to add is being aware of like, hey, this is a place in the moment where I or the other person, we are getting attacked one way or the other. Sometimes it seems like the most simple stuff, but it's the most simple stuff that actually starts escalating things to further stuff. So being like aware that this is a psychic attack, controlling emotions, controlling feelings, controlling urges and actions and other things. If you're aware like this is attack, you start or like you start understanding what's happening, and you stop blaming yourself or the other person, because you know like how you feel and how you're acting is not your fault. How they feel and how they act is not their fault. And sometimes the phrases we say, the things we do that might hurt each other, is like, damn, I'm sorry. It wasn't me. It wasn't you. It was the third party using us, working through us to make us, bicker and all this stuff. So being aware of what's going on. And then it is important to learn how to handle these things, like the smallest stuff. Like you don't have to please absolutely everyone. Stop it. You don't have to fix everything all the time. No, but to sort of like be in control of yourself and not allow this stuff to affect you emotionally, physically, and psychologically. If you can sort of handle it, like, yeah, come at me. Come at me, bro. You sort of like make sure, like, you're ready. Like, you're not like putting up a wall where you ignore it all, but you allow it to come in and you allow it to go through, and it doesn't affect you. Like, you're not just like comes through one ear, comes out through the other, but more like, okay, I hear you. I understand you. I tolerate what it is. How can I help you? And so, like, when you are becoming the bigger person, these attacks stop. These things stop because they no longer can affect you. When they cannot affect you, no matter what they will do to the other people, it will stop working because you are no longer someone they can control. And that is the thing that like can free us the most, because now we're like, yeah, I understand you're angry. Cool. And so like for me, like it's not like being emotionless. It's not like having this like iron wall and sort of like, yeah, come at me, attack me all you want, and please hit me more. Not like that, but more like simply knowing how powerful you are, and that no matter what happens, you're responsible for how you feel. And sometimes it's like freaking hard. It's not pleasant. It's not fun. It's gonna hurt you even more sometimes, maybe. Like depends on how you react to things. But if you can control yourself, this is the most powerful thing you can do. Controlling how you react to things, and maybe trying to be the bigger person with understanding, with tolerance, and not kissing ass, not trying to be perfect or anything, but simply like standing firm for yourself. So it's a massive subject, and there's so much more to talk about. But I guess for now, this would be it. There's a whole lot more. So, like, I don't know, like, if you have any questions or things you want me to focus on for the next video, let me know. And for now, like, maybe you can share your own experiences, like, if you view something like this, and if maybe you've had situations where it seemed crazy, but you were able to sort of handle yourself and the attack stopped or something like that. So, I don't know if you have any experiences with these things, or if you have any thoughts, or like, hey, heck, will I have a different story to share? Please leave that in the comments. I love reading your stories and getting connected to you. So that being said, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.